We all know Scottie Scheffler is the best golfer in the world right now, and he is also one of the best ball strikers, if not the best ball striker on the planet. He loves playing a controlled cut off the tee, so let's see why and how he is such a good cutter of the golf ball. Now, first things first, at his setup, tough to tell for sure where he's aligned here, but you can see that ball is well up in his stance. A lot of guys play the driver the ball a little bit further back than this. He plays it well up in his stance, and what that does, if you think of the swing arc, he's catching that golf ball on his follow through. After his club has reached the peak of the arc, it's now considered in the follow through, providing him a swing path of, let's say, about -2 out to in. If you want to play the ball left to right as a right-hander, you have to either play swing path right down the line or slightly out to in, which is going to get that cut spin. All right, now as we move into shaft parallel, we're going to take a look at his club face. You can see the takeaway is nice and on plane. I love that his left arm is in line with his alignment towards his target. He has not brought his club head and his arms back behind him quickly. A lot of amateurs do that, and that's going to lead to an over-the-top move in transition. But what you'll notice here for a cut is his club face is slightly more upright than his spine angle, which is considered a slightly open club face. And it's not much. It doesn't take much. If he's swinging down the line or out to in a degree or two, all he needs is a club face that's 1 degree open, and that ball will have that nice little fade to it. After it reaches apex, it'll fall left to right. So if this is a shot that you're looking to play, and you'd like to play a cut off the tee, take a look at your club face at this position. If this club face was at this angle, more parallel with the ground and closed compared to his spine angle, he's going to have a very difficult time correcting that into impact if he wants to play a cut. This is a great position to be in for Scottie, given he's cutting the ball off the tee more times than not. The other thing to note over here, great width. He lives in the mid-180s ball speed wise, so he's no slouch. He's hitting the ball pretty far. This width right here is helping him produce relatively effortless club speed and ball speed. But what he didn't do is he didn't sway his body back away from the target as his hands created that width. You can see his hips are staying within this line here where he started. This is something that I struggled with early on in my long drive career, is I would shift too far into my backside and then I wouldn't get to my front side early enough. All the best hitters in the world stay within this line here on their backswing, and then they start working towards the target, recentering between here and the top in transition. Now, speaking of the top into transition, let's go to the top here. Now you can see these are two different swings, obviously, and you can see here Scottie on the left, his shaft is parallel with the ground, and he's pretty much into his front side. He's hanging on his backside a little bit longer on this swing, and you can also see he's taking a shorter backswing. We're going to assume this is because he's playing two different shots. One's on the course, one's on the range. Two different shots here, but we can see some similarities here. His hips are staying back, which is going to give his hands plenty of room to come through into the downswing. He's not going to crowd himself over the ball, which is going to make ball striking difficult if your hips are moving towards the golf ball. And then you can see the head drop. All the great hitters in the world have this as they harness energy from the ground at the top in transition here. And the other thing here too is you can see now that he's at the top in transition, his back right hip has now recentered towards the target, and he's full well moving towards the target. And at impact, you're going to see something that Scottie does more than just about anybody else that really, again, leads to his preferred fade of the golf ball. And then if you've ever seen him try to draw the golf ball, his swing and follow through get a little weird looking, and we're going to see at impact why that is and what causes that. Now from here, let's get back to shaft parallel on the downswing. You can see the shaft here is straight up and down, which is a relatively square club face. If the club face angle was pointed towards the sky, that's an open club face. If the club face is pointed towards the ground, that's a closed club face. So he was slightly open on the takeaway, and now he's pretty much square on the downswing, which tells me if he's going to cut the ball, he has to swing out to in a couple degrees to produce that left to right spin. The other option being if he was going to swing down the line 0 degrees straight at the target, that club face would have to be slightly open. The club face indicates the launch angle of the ball in terms of left and right, the launch direction. So he is clearly launching the ball straight direction-wise, but the swing path is what produces the left to right spin. It's a very, very good way to control the golf ball and minimize your misses and keep your misses small in the fairway. Now, as we get down to impact, this is the move that makes his cut so reliable and his draw not his favorite shot, we'll say. He's obviously great at everything, but the draw is clearly where he's least comfortable, and here's why. You can see his head moved away from the target, which is great. All the great hitters keep their head moving away from the target into impact. But you can see how far his hips have drifted in front of this starting line where his left hip was at address. He has drifted so far towards the target that in order to keep that club face from smothering and closing at the golf ball and resulting in a duck hook, he has to keep his head behind the ball. You can see how far his head is behind the ball at impact. Again, his hip sliding so far forward makes it very difficult for him to draw the golf ball. Can he when he needs to? Obviously, yes. He's the best in the world. But again, this is his natural move here, and this is why he produces a natural fade. When his hips slide so far towards the target, all he has to do is make sure that that club face stays square and doesn't close, and from there he's hitting it right down the middle with a fade. So in your swing, to take this into your swing, if your hips move forward towards the target like Scottie's and you struggle with a left miss, take a look at your head. Is your head also moving towards the target? If it is, that is a main culprit of your left miss. Try to keep your head behind the golf ball, and that will help keep your hands stable and keep the club face stable into impact, helping hit it straight rather than a closed face at impact. All right, let's go ahead and watch it almost full speed here in slow motion, but no pausing. And you can just see it's a very fluid. His tempo is amazing. His timing is smooth. I'm a firm believer that tempo trumps everything. If your timing is good, everything else will be much better. If you focus on positions, it's tough to be in the right position if your timing and sequencing is not great. So timing, sequencing, tempo, priority number one. Everything else seems a little bit easier to fall into place when your timing and tempo is good.